What's going on? It's your grandpa coming at you with another video. Like, subscribe, and share, comment. So, I'm gonna make this video about the Atlanta Hawks of the late 80's, early 90's. It was an interesting team if you really want to break them down, because before Detroit cemented themselves as a Eastern power, Atlanta Hawks was gonna be the team that was gonna like challenge uh, for the East going against the Lakers or whatever. Well, challenge Boston. I'm sorry, challenge Boston to play the Lakers or whatever. They had a lot of talent. They had Dominique, Doc Rivers, David Battle, Randy Whitman, Antoine Carr, Cliff Levingston, Tree Rollins, John Concack. That was the pretty much the lineup for at least 3 to 4 years. I might be underestimating that, but that was the lineup: Dominique, Doc Rivers, Randy Whitman, Tree Rollins, and Antoine Carr sometimes, but they tried Cliff Levingston. Oh, Kevin Willis, my bad. Kevin Willis was in that mix too. So you know they were coached by Mike Fratello. Played at the Omni. That was some hype games to see, especially when they played Jordan or the Lakers of Boston. Them in Boston, they were going back and forth, and back in those days, teams played each other like 6 times, especially division teams. If you were in a certain division, you were gonna play each other like 6 times. I think they got kind of cut it, something like that. It's best out of 5 or something. But back then, it was like 6 games, and Boston, they were giving Boston a little run for their money. Although sometimes they could slip back and get clowned, because in the Boston Garden they used to get blown out all the time. Dominique Wilkins was doing his thing, very exciting. He was the main attraction for the Atlanta Hawks, and I think that was some of the root of where the issues with the Atlanta Hawks came from, because it used to be various reports about team this team dysfunction. A lot of squabbling. With that talent, though, it's kind of understandable why they would. Doc Rivers, I mean, like, watching the games back then, I think Doc Rivers was at the root of that. I'm not trying to, put Doc out there like that, but like Doc Rivers, I think they kind of converted him. I didn't really keep up with Doc Rivers' college career. He came from Marquette, of course, but I think he was more of like a scoring guard that they try to convert into point guard, and he just had to learn the skills over time. But Doc Rivers thought he had like skills, and he did have skills. He did. Chicago legend, John Concack. During that time, he got the bag. That caused. I think that was at the tail end of their run. That group that I mentioned earlier, that was the tail end of it, because him getting paid like that started a bunch of other stuff, and they already had infighting. So people want to talk about the Luka trade. When Dominique got traded, that was out of left field. Like, he got traded, and just to give a little background on that, they 1988, they gave Boston a scare. The famous game that the Hawks and the Celtics played when Dominique and Larry Bird were going back and forth. Great game. Dominique was locked in. Everything he was putting up, it was going in, and he only had like one dunk, and it wasn't his normal, tear the rim down dunk. It was like a floater, just put it in that dunk. But after that, they kind of like they were just treading water. I remember they brought Moses Malone and Reggie Theus in. That was people. I don't. It's not a lot of talk about that, but they tried to bring. They brought Moses in, Thought that was gonna solve their center issues because Tree Rollins he was on the tail end of his career and really couldn't compete with other centers in the East. He couldn't compete with Lambert, couldn't compete with Robert Parrish, not like that. I mean, he was more of a defensive presence at that time. I'm not on. I definitely wasn't watching back then when Tree Rollins was like in his young days, so I can't say what he was or what he wasn't. But Mose Malone came in, played pretty good when Reggie Theus got there. He was struggling to find his way in the offense. I think there's a little bit more on Mike Fratello in, and I'm gonna get to Mike Fratello before I close it out. But Reggie Theus was gone like the next year. I think too much competition for the nightlife with Dominique. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, Theus didn't last long. But Moses played like a couple of years for the Hawks, and he was doing he was doing his normal work, even though he was like he was fading out. But Mike Fratello, I think, was the part of the reason why that team didn't reach the potential, because they had the talent. Antoine Carr, after he got traded to Sacramento, he became the big dog. I think they was calling him Big Dog. Cliff Levingston went on to play with the Bulls, was a spark plug off the three-peat run, the first three-peat. David Battle, he was a baller. Nice little trivia, whatever, nice little fun fact about him. He was married to Regina Bell, R&B singer, like he was kind of like Atlanta royalty. Doc Rivers, went on from after that. He went on to play for New York and the Clippers, helping both teams try to reach the championship. Not the Clippers, because he brought them respectability, but he didn't. They wasn't going for the title. And with New York, he was trying to help them reach the championship, but it wasn't to be. Went on to be a coach. We all know what it is. I might do a video on Doc Rivers as far as being a coach, but yeah, the Atlanta Hawks was a pretty exciting team back in the day. They used to call them the Atlanta Air Force. Nothing can stop us. Nothing can stop us. Atlanta's Air Force. That's that was they sang. They had a video to that too. They was just dunking in the background, and Dominique and them was singing and all that. But yeah, pretty fun team. And that was the Atlanta Hawks of the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So this is Grandpa signing off. Get back at you another one.